responsibly.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to Island Tea right here on Win Media SKN. It is the end of the week, guys. It's Friday. We are at the weekend, finally, May 13th. Wait, today is Friday the 13th? What? I didn't even realize that.
I didn't realize it.
Brother Chucky tonight. But, but guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us this morning. And, of course, I am your fave, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host and producer, Jade Gwen Idita, CPL Matter Stuart Johnson. And we're looking forward to an amazing day. We've been having a fun week. Talking to lots of amazing people, and today would be no different. But Jade, just before we jump into our link up with our friends from Observer Radio in Antigua, how are you doing?
I am great. I can't complain today. It's the weekend finally. It's time to just relax, unwind.
That's what I do on the weekend?
Yes, relax and unwind.
Either way, watching the videos, there seems to be very little relaxation. There is a lot of winding. I don't know about unwinding, but there's definitely a lot of winding going on.
No winding for me this weekend.
No winding for you this weekend?
I'm, my weekend. This is mommy weekend.
Ah, yeah, mommy week, mommy
Yes, so I might do a little two-step with my son in the room to a little Peppa Pig, but
week.
no party style dancing.
No party style dancing. Fine. Well, doing your best to keep COVID at bay.
Yes. And speaking of, I think we have about 14 cases. You see the cases going back down, man. We're on a good path.
Yeah. No, people just stop with this.
Oh, that's we have 13 cases to be exact.
Not bad. Wait, went up to? What was the max?
I think it was like two. No, that's
We ain't had no 20.
25.
It was up to 25 at one point?
Yeah, 25 was on the 8th.
I am going to be okay. I'm going to be totally honest, Jade. I have not been following the dashboard. I have not been following the dashboard. Thank God for you and your constant updates. I would have no idea what the status of COVID is in the country. I'm being totally honest. I believe a lot of people, you know what I think it is? For some people, after they got it, and of course, most likely their households and stuff like that had it, the attention paid to it went down for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Because there was this big bag boogeyman, and then the boogeyman reach, and then you fight, and then you and the boogeyman trade some blows, but you were triumphant in the end.
Oh, indeed.
So they can't come scare the boogeyman again.
No.
You know that kind of way. Mm-hmm.
That's it for that.
Yeah, I just hoping they ain't come with Jason next.
Listen.
Bear in mind, I'm using all these references because it's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I figure, man.
Yeah.
But
synchronicity, Jade. Synchronicity.
As you should. I think the variants even stopped. I don't know. I saw something about some new one the other day, but it's like, oh, okay.
Jade, let me tell you something. I believe that China is not looking to be blamed for another world lockdown. I think that's kind of where they're at right now, and a lot of the things that are happening, they're sticking over there.
Yeah, man.
They're sticking them. I mean, they're really putting pressure on the people, but
Yeah. But it's like sometimes.
think they're ready for us?
Yeah, man. It looks that way.
Let's see.
They do need to.
You guys need to unmute.
Good morning over there in Antigua. Can you guys unmute for me, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all doing?
We're blessed and highly favored.
Indeed.
Indeed. I think we are blessed and highly favored too. At least our parliament hasn't been dissolved and nobody was fired.
Y'all ain't got no vibes, man. Y'all ain't got no vibes. That's what I
This is how we're going to do this thing today. So it's just a joke. It just got to be a joke, okay?
Yes.
Hey, look.
Indeed. But yes.
Look, we can take it just like we dish it out. So we appreciate
Yes, indeed. Y'all are good sports, I must admit.
Remember
I'm
time.
Can you all see my camera? I'm not seeing you all for some reason. I'm just seeing Win Media with some kind of logo going on. I'm not seeing both of you.
Should
Oh,
become.
there you are.
Yeah, there we go.
There you are. Good morning. So you see my T-shirt. I'm a little in buoyant mood this morning because I'm wearing this T-shirt. You see what it says?
Home of Champions.
Home of Champions.
Very good. Very good. Your ophthalmologist is doing a very good job. Home of Champions. This is the Princess Margaret School.
Oh.
And that's my alma mater.
Oh.
And the Princess Margaret School has been doing very well for itself in the field of sport lately. So they have these T-shirts. They created these T-shirts to celebrate the accomplishments of the school. And I was happy to get my copy yesterday. I got this one, and I got a pink one. I had to get one for my better half because she also attended the same school.
Ah.
Oh, so sweet.
Yes, yeah, you know how it is. Yeah, she phoned me and took advantage of me. But anyway.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Princess
sounds like a
Margaret
fun
School.
time.
Yes, indeed. The Princess Margaret School. I hope she's not listening, by the way, because I'll get hell for that. But I was just bragging and saying that the Princess Margaret School is not only the home of champions, and I need to get a list of the champions. I need to get somebody get me the list of all the things we've done. But we also are the home of 2 prime ministers. 2 prime ministers came from the Princess Margaret School. No other school in Antigua has produced 2, not 1, 2 prime ministers. 1 school. I'm just saying. So I'm a little I'm gloating this morning. But anyway, the listeners probably tired of hearing me gloat, especially my friends from our competing schools like St. Joseph's Academy, Antigua Grammar School, Antigua Girls High School, and the other top schools in Antigua. We all like to hate on each other, so to speak.
Yeah, man, little friendly competition, or not so friendly competition.
Back in the day, it wasn't all that friendly.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
grudge match.
really, well, friendly, but yes, exactly.
A little grudge match.
You know, some healthy amount of grudging and little hating going on. But nothing to cause harm, of course.
Of
All
course,
in
of
good
course not.
fun, and that's what it's all about. So, who do where's our guest? Our guest hasn't arrived as yet?
No, he has not.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
dear. What's the problem?
well, Darren, I mean, you are uniquely positioned to understand exactly what has been happening in St. Kitts, because you are, one who has been
Stir the
labeled
pot.
been labeled a catalyst
He has been stirring the pot, boy.
for what is happening here. We are laying the blame squarely at your feet.
As we should.
We've been asking the politicians who is to blame, and no one seems to know. So we are going to take it upon ourselves to lay the blame squarely at the feet at Darren, and so you know exactly what has been happening.
Hold on. Darren, is
How
it
did I
possible?
stir the pot?
Sorry, Darren, but is it just possible for you to raise your volume just a tad? Our listeners are saying it's very difficult for them to hear you.
Oh, okay. Good morning, St. Kitts. Can you hear me? All right. Well, the technical director is doing his thing. We'll try our best and see what we can do to optimize the volume level. Is that a little better?
Yes, that
Are you
does.
hearing me a little clearer?
Yeah, that does sound a little better
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know if I want to accept blame. I mean, I just provided an opportunity for the good gentleman, Sean Richards, to say what he had to say. I extended the same invitation to Timo, but I don't know. He just didn't bother with me. I guess he just said what he had to say in his address, and that was it. What was it 14 minutes, 15 minutes? How long was it, Jade? You remember?
The presentation,
you
because
hear
he made two presentations.
Yes.
One was when he was basically the extended death announcement, and then the other one was the act which is now being called the firing. Well, nobody else is calling it that, but that's
I feel like it's you name it.
yeah. I'm responsible, but it was on Monday.
You taking some blame.
No. I just report on what's happening. I just report on what's happening.
It was about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it seemed a little longer. Or maybe because about 3 minutes in the lead up, there was music or whatever it was, just the preamble. There was something before. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, well, it certainly felt like 15 minutes by the time he was done, I'll be honest. But, it's just me being a little naughty and my way of saying that, he has a certain style of speaking that doesn't endear himself to, getting attention and that sort of thing. But his points were well made. His points were well made, I think. He made his point. He basically suggested that, the actions and behavior of the former deputy was inappropriate and out of order and so on and so forth. And the fact that he wasn't in cabinet for 90 days. I wanted to ask the Honorable Sean Richards that very question this morning. You know where he is? Is he en route to the studio, or there's a change in plan, or what?
Are you speaking about if he's in St. Kitts?
No. Yeah. I'm talking about Sean Richards. Where is he? He's not supposed to be in the studio? Or
Darren, do you not remember who our guest is supposed to be?
Okay, I know it's Dr. Terrance Drew,
Yeah.
right? But I thought Sean Richards was gonna come on before.
Oh,
No.
Okay. Well, I guess there was a misunderstanding there. And so I do apologize to the listeners for that. But I told the listeners that he was going to be a part of the program, the Honorable Sean Richards.
Oh, you did?
And then he would come on until 8:30. Yeah, and then Dr. Terrance Drew after. I thought
There's a
my
little bit of a
communication
misunderstanding.
was, there was a little bit of a misunderstanding, so I'll take responsibility for that. But yeah, I'll take responsibility for that, and I do apologize to the listener. Sometimes these things happen.
Maybe
That's
for the
life,
next link
I
up,
suppose.
we may be able to have him in studio with us.
Right. So is Dr. Richards joining you in studio?
Dr. Drew is arriving
Dr.
at
Drew,
8:30.
sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hopefully he comes a little earlier since we have that extra time.
Yeah.
So outside of that, what else is outside of that? What else is happening in St. Kitts?
There's no outside of that.
Is there enough oxygen for anything else to breathe? That is.
I don't see
that is kind of what is dominating. The talk shops, the airwaves, people's minds.
Yes.
It does seem as though the present political climate and the present political wranglings is all that anyone can focus on, speak about, etc. But what about Antigua? What is happening in Antigua?
Well, comparatively speaking, we're very quiet.
Quiet is good.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, it's all logic. We can't always be, topping the news and making controversy. But certainly the opposition here thinks that they have a winning formula for the next general election. They've been drumming or beating the drum of the water issue, the water situation in the country. I think the water situation is probably the dominant issue in the country. And by that I mean the inability of the APUA, that's the Antigua Public Utilities Authority, the statutory body set up to provide electricity, water, and telephone. They have not done a good job of making sure that people have water on a consistent basis. And so, and they've admitted that. I'm not telling tales out of school. They've admitted that they've had some challenges. They have been engaged in terms of at least providing explanations for why the water situation is what it is, blaming it on production in one respect, i.e. the reverse osmosis plants that are down for maintenance and need new membranes and so on. And also the distribution, where we have a number of broken mains that are causing some problems because our pipe system is quite, some would use the word ancient and needs replacing. But of course, as an opposition, as any opposition worth its salt, is going to make political hay of it. And they have done, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here. They have done an effective job of keeping this issue front and center because it's one that's so relatable. Everybody, regardless of whether you live in Hodges Bay or Crosby's, or whether you live in, a not so wealthy community, you feel the pain of lack of water.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So they think they found an issue. And because of that, every week in the cabinet notes, there is something in the form of some form of update, some form of the government certainly appears to be on the defensive. And that's just my unbiased view of it. They appear to be on the defensive. Every cabinet note that comes out and a cabinet press conference, there's a discussion on water and what the government is doing to improve the situation. But the opposition is not letting up, so they think they have an issue there. That perhaps is the most significant issue they think they can use to, wrest votes from the incumbent. The other issue is the, oh dear, I lost my train of thought. The issue of, well, there's of course always the issue of accountability and alleged corruption or whatnot, but the issue of choice, the fact that the government had a vaccine mandate. They think that a lot of people are sufficiently aggrieved as a result of that mandate. Many people would have been forced to take the vaccine because even though they didn't want to for whatever reason, and they think that that is also an issue that is resonating with voters. And so they think they have some winning messages there. I mean, there are other things as well, but those are the top two issues. Choice, water. I think that's a part of their tagline. Water, choice, and something else. I can't remember. But the opposition spokesman was on the program this morning, and he spoke, he waxed lyrical on those two issues, and they really are beating that drum. And the government does appear to be on the defensive, and they're rather quiet, though. The campaign has been very muted on the government side, I think they're basically just waiting to get the water situation solved. I certainly don't think they're going to call the election until they have the water situation solved, which then begs the question, are they going to get it solved? Because if they don't get it solved by the time they have to call the election, I don't know. It's going to be hard to explain why you've gotten 2 terms and you can't get this issue under control, considering that they used it as a bludgeon on the heads of the UPP back in 2014 when they first came to power. Under Gaston Brown, that is.
Right.
So the opposition is saying, well, you told the people you're going to solve the problem, and they have made a job. They made it their job, their task to get the clips of the campaign.
Of
with
course.
The current Minister of Utilities.
Of course.
Robin Yearwood and Prime Minister Gaston. And you know they have those in memes, they have those in videos
The
and
clip
that have been circulating right on social media. Yep.
Yeah, the clippers will
They have
clip.
been making mincemeat, I think.
But
Exactly. So, and who can blame them? The ALP would do the same thing if they were in government.
Indeed.
Right? Or if they were in opposition. So,
But Darren,
politics for you.
what has been the suggestion?
me.
What has been the suggestion quickly, in how they intend to? What has been the proposal in how they intend to fix the problem? Is it building more plants, desalination? Like what has been the suggestion? Or is it just fixing the present
suggestion
plants?
No, well, dare I consider myself a spokesperson for the party, because I know some of them are not very fond of me and the way I ask my questions, which is fine. I mean, I'm not a member of their public relations machinery, and I have to remind them of that ever so often when they pass their place. But they do think that, what are y'all laughing for? I'm being honest.
Indeed.
Or y'all think I'm throwing shade? I'm not. I'm not throwing shade. But they think that the issue of maintenance has been one that the government has neglected. The government should have been able to raise the resources necessary to engage in the sort of preventative maintenance to avoid this problem from occurring in the first place. So they think they've wasted resources, especially CIP resources that could have been better utilized to make sure that we are not dealing with the problems we are dealing with. The replacement of the pipe infrastructure, they criticize the government heavily for not addressing that issue effectively. And so they are arguing that they're going to be better stewards of the nation's resources and put in money where it needs to go, i.e. better maintenance. If they know the membranes have a useful shelf life, I think that's the term he used this morning, of, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the time frame, make sure you order these things in advance so you don't give us the excuse, well, the membranes are bad, it's not producing, so therefore we have to get new membranes. That's not good enough. This is not Dolly House, I'm paraphrasing. So that has been their essential argument. They also believe that they need to put more water tank infrastructure in the various communities, the villages and so on. And they heavily criticize the government for not connecting 3 tanks that have been up and not up. Well, they've been up, but they've certainly
They've been constructed, right, but not commissioned.
But not commissioned, not connected to pumps and piping and so on, so that people can get water. And surprise, surprise, one of them is now working, one of the 3.
Yeah.
And chances are they're going to have the other 2 sorted out. So so the government really does appear to be on the defensive on this issue. We'll see. And I suspect that's probably why they're very quiet. They're trying to solve these issues first.
Before they come to the people. Right.
Come to the people and say, listen, we're ready for the campaign.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see, though. Because the Labour Party they're referred to as the Big Red Machine. They do have a campaign machinery, perhaps unlike most, because of the fact that they are the legacy party in the country. I mean, they are kind of like the Republican Party in the U.S. They're like the first party.
Right, I got you.
In Trinidad. Who's the legacy party in St. Kitts? Would that be Labour Party?
The Labour Party.
Yeah,
Definitely Labour Party, yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of the Labour Party, we have actually been joined by our guest. So this morning we have in studio none other than the leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Dr. Terrance Drew. Good morning, Doctor. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, good morning. I am well. Just coming off of a massive public meeting last night in Half-Tree. Went home, had some rest, got up this morning, got some exercise, some prayer, and some good bush tea.
Oh well, you come from more down here, so. But let me tell you something. You walk in here this morning, you look like you don't look like you had no late night. You come in fresh this morning, energized, and I'm sure there's good reason for that. But because Thomas, as you recognize, we are actually joined by our friends in Antigua at Observer Radio. In the line we have Darren, but Darren, because I know you you're gonna have to leave us soon.
No, I can stay. We can stay.
You see what now? You see what?
Of course he can stay.
I cleared the slate so that we could have the benefit of Dr. Drew's point of view on the happenings in St. Kitts Nevis. I believe I tried to reach him separately, but he just gave the explanation. He had a public meeting. Good morning, Dr. Drew.
Yes, good morning, and how are you? And
I'm doing fine.
I look
I
forward
was
to
just
speaking
updating
with
my
you. Yes.
happenings in Antigua.
Oh, okay. Well, we are a region, and that is also that has its place as well. And I look forward to speaking with you at some point in the very, very near future. In the very, very near future.
Well, Dr. Drew, I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, there's been a lot happening. Of course, like you're saying, things are developing and developing quickly. And sometimes there may be some of us that, kind of get left behind or can't even keep up with all that is happening. How would you describe the present political climate here in St. Kitts Nevis?
I will say that we are in a sad state. This is a quagmire. Any term that you can use to describe it, a government that has fallen less than 2 years after a general election, right after a pandemic, that says a lot about who were in government. It talks a lot about the issues that existed within that coalition. The people are hurting, many persons are angry, others are depressed. And this sad state of political affairs here in St. Kitts and Nevis is not only affecting our country, because we are not isolated. We are part of other organizations such as the OECS, the OAS, and indeed we are also part of CARICOM, Commonwealth, and the UN. And therefore, when you have a country that goes into this type of political tailspin, it affects everybody. When people call me from overseas, they are deeply disappointed, and some has even developed anger. And so I would say it is a sad state of affairs here for us. Governance has really gone to the dogs, as we say here in local parlance, and integrity in public life has no place. Transparency and openness, all those good things that were promised. After 7 years, people from within the government, within the cabinet are saying these things were not achieved. And they're admitting it to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that, I think, is also hurtful for our country. So I will say it's a sad state of affairs, and it is not, Captain, the ship is sinking. The ship has sunk. And so I want to say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that in any bad situation, there is hope. St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, which is the legacy party, as was spoken of before. This year, we have completed 90 years. We are the longest serving political party, at least in the English-speaking Caribbean. We are still the largest party here in our federation. We offer hope to our people. A better way, a new day. Things will be better with Labour. And so even though things are difficult and sad, I want to say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that there is hope with the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. We are committed to nation building and committed to bringing all of our people together. And that is why I'm saying for persons who are looking for good governance, a stable government, which is important for national development, that they are welcome to Labour. PLP supporters, PAM supporters, even our own supporters who were disaffected. The independents who don't believe in political parties. This is time that we really come together and move forward together. And the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, we offer that to the people.
Well, I mean, you're saying that, and I think we're at a point now where a lot of the electorate is a bit disillusioned with the promises made by politicians in general. And of course, your party may be unfairly affected by that, you may say, but that still is the situation. How do we as a nation put the necessary safeguards in place to try and at least avoid repeats of these types of situations? And what would that look like? And of course, with these suggestions, I would hope that these are measures that the Labour Party can commit to putting in place.
Well, I would say that persons have reasons, our citizens have reasons to be disillusioned. It is obvious that they would be. And so I cannot bash them for feeling that way at all. It's quite understandable. I myself sometimes feel some of that, especially when you see what is taking place. So I'm not different from the rest of the citizenry when it comes to this. However, I also recognize that in all these great challenges, there's always hope. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is what brought democracy to St. Kitts and Nevis. I want people to remember that. We had democracy in the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party before there was democracy in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Labour Party was established in 1932. We had a democratic process. The union came after in 1940, and I want people to be aware of that. The party came before the union. It was the party that fought for unionism and the right for workers to form organizations and to associate with what organization they wish. Those things were illegal then. The party fought for those things. The party fought for us to have a Labor Day, and I want people to also recognize that. It was the political action. Why am I giving that background and history? Is to tell people within our history, during the darkest hours of our nation, our party stepped up and brought our people out. We did it back then in 1932. In 1993, 91, we were called the Devil's Island, and we were able to restore St. Kitts to #1 in the Caribbean. And so this is not anything new to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. And so I want people to look at our history as an organization and look at what we have contributed in terms of advancing our country. Of course, we are not perfect, but one cannot deny that we have been definitely a force for good. And that is what we offer again to our people, but based on our history, our principles, and our foundation. Now, what would we do to prevent these things? It was the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party who pushed for independence. And our first national hero had basically established the grounds on which independence would be established. The Constitution was to come, and that document was to set us on a path to make sure that we continue on a path of growth, development, good governance, and all of these things. So what we are saying now is that we need another leap, and we have to be committed to it, not just by words. That is why when I saw an accord being signed, an accord now people can go back and say, there's nothing binding when it comes to an accord. So the Charleston Accord is what it is, an accord, and there's nothing binding to it. There are things that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will do. One, before legislations are passed, these legislations would have to be discussed at the local level. People would have access to them, because there are laws being passed all the time, and you don't even know what the law is about. So we need more participation in it. The other thing that we want is that once people would have committed to these things, that there are mechanisms in place to make sure that they are carried out. People should have the right to repeal a government, to say, look, you promised that you would put good governance in there, and it is not in there. And for breaking that promise, there has to be some sort of a consequence. Should we consider recalling people when they don't carry out these major platform things that were promised? So the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is committed to making sure that the good governance agenda is pursued. Why do I say that? Because within our own party, we implemented that. It was right here in the studio. I don't know if it were you or Devon, when John L. Powell sat for me, and I told John L. Powell then, you and I are the young chairmen of our parties, the two major parties in St. Kitts and Nevis. As young men, we can do something for our generation, and that is to make sure that we include code of ethical conduct within our organization. And the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party stands today as the only party that has included in its constitution a code of ethical conduct. At any time, any member in our party can take any of us to the disciplinary committee or lodge a complaint to say that we're not living up to the ideals. That is how serious we are about it, so that we don't have people at the top leadership of our party who are not conducting themselves properly. So I told him, let's do it as young men. I went ahead with my team, of course. Shanks, the team agreed to it. All of us agreed, and we implemented the code of ethical conduct, that code that will be signed officially by our new candidates. And I'm saying that that showed our commitment to the ideals of good governance and ethics and transparency, openness, integrity in public life. So even within my own party, I have to operate in a particular way. And that was a signal to the country that we are serious about incorporating this in our political life, and that we will bring to the national level. So I'm not only saying it, but I have fought for it with others, of course, the team, to implement it within the party structure, and that we will take to the national level. It's already in our party, so it's easy to translate it to the national level. So that is where we're at. So based on our history, based on what we have done within our party, we can say clearly, and I can say clearly, that we are committed to it.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, Dr. Drew,
Yes.
does the St. Kitts Labour Party have a full slate of candidates already in place?
Yes, we do have a full slate of candidates. As a matter of fact, when I was elected leader on the 28th of November, 2021, one of the things I said after that is that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will be ready for the next general elections. I know what took place in Antigua, and I paid close attention to the political happenings that the last election was called and the opposition was not ready. That also took place in Barbados, and I said St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party under my leadership will not suffer that fate. And today, the only party in St. Kitts that have a full slate of candidates named and is in the community working, believe it or not, is the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. We have gone through our vigorous process of candidate selection, and we have selected our candidates, and they are already out in the community, already named. The country knows them. They have been presented already, and that's one of the things I'm very proud of, that we were not caught off guard. We are ready to go. The candidates are already on the ground.
Right. Which constituency will you be running in? And speak to us a little bit about the role of the former Prime Minister, Dr. Denzil Douglas, what role he will have in the upcoming campaign.
Right. So I would say I'm running in constituency number 8. If you were paying close attention to the last elections, you would have known that it took over 24 hours to count the votes in constituency number 8. And the results after that showed that I lost by a mere 23 votes after having lost by over 200 by about 236 votes the election before. And that occurred during a pandemic when we could not campaign. Had we had the opportunity to campaign, even with the shenanigans of cheating, and we know that cheating took place, I had a court case that I did not have the opportunity to be heard because there was a fatal error in terms of the filing from the lawyers. But now we are seeing the truth of a lot of what took place in that election. Those things are actually coming out. But I would say that in constituency number 8, that is where I will be running. That is the largest constituency in the Federation, I think now. There was a large one in Nevis, but I think we have surpassed them in terms of numbers. But it's a very, very large constituency. We definitely have the largest number of voters per election, even though we may not have, at some times, the largest number of registered voters. With respect to the Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, I want to say here that I really am fighting to make sure that his legacy is preserved. He served as our party leader for 33 years, as the Prime Minister for 20 years. I think most persons would agree that he did an excellent job. Of course, he was not perfect, as I will not be, and nobody will be, but I think he was able to transform St. Kitts from a sugar-based type of economy to a service, financial, and advanced type of economy, where he left St. Kitts as a high-income country and number 1 in a number of significant parameters here in the OECS. So I would say that. However, he is now, as he has said, that he is making his transition out of politics. He is no longer the leader of our party. He is a candidate on the slate. He's not a deputy leader either. And of course, and he has said that, as a veteran and one with experience, he would lend that to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. But he's really also making his transition out of politics. But he'll definitely be a part of the slate at this point in time as we go forward.
Okay. All right. Can I ask one more? A follow-up?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. The residents, let me say, citizens of St. Kitts Nevis who reside overseas, they play a very critical role in elections in St. Kitts. They are allowed to come back home and vote. To what extent do you think that will redound to the benefit of your party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, vis-a-vis the opposition? Well, your political opponents.
Right.
And is that something that you plan to, for want of a better and less obvious way of putting it, is it something that you plan to take advantage of?
Well, let me say it this way. I don't know if the word advantage I would use it. I see you paused a bit on that word. But we believe that all those who are citizens and are registered to vote should have that opportunity to vote. At this time with our constitution, you have to vote in person. In other jurisdictions or countries such as the United States, you can mail in your ballot from overseas. But here they have to come home. And so our party will facilitate as much as possible those who wish to come home to vote. They can come home to vote. And there are people out there who are already wanting to come home to vote. Let me say this. A tragedy took place in the last election where the last prime minister and the outgoing prime minister, Timothy Harris, I want to say he will not be prime minister again. The outgoing prime minister then made fun of the fact that people will not be able to come home to vote. You know what he said? He said 14 days. I don't know if you would have heard the tape. Made fun of our citizens that they couldn't come home to vote, saying that if they come home to vote, they have to quarantine for 14 days, so they will not be able to vote. Can you imagine the outgoing prime minister who was making fun of our citizens because they were not getting the opportunity to exercise their franchise and vote? And I want to say to people that the vote is sacred. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party fought with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to get the right to vote. And in 1952, we got what you call adult suffrage, the opportunity to cast a vote. And I'm saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, do not sell out your vote. Anybody who brings money to you, that is a gift, is your own money. People cannot buy you with your own money. If they give you, is a gift, but vote your conscience. Don't let nobody come and give you $5,000, which equates to $80 per month. And then they can tell you they don't have to fight for your health care and your education and these things. There are bigger things to fight for. Anything they give you, you can take it because it has to be a gift, because I'm assuming they're not trying to bribe you, which is illegal. Right, so I want to say that. So when it comes to the overseas vote, we, any citizen who has the right to vote should be able to come home and exercise that franchise. I want to say, and I want to put in national security unnoticed, that I am getting reports that they plan in national security, which is under the ministry of the outgoing prime minister, that they will frustrate our citizens when they apply for clearance to come home. They will not, I am hearing, pass the person so that they can catch the flight and come home. I want the outgoing prime minister to know that I'm putting that ministry on notice, that when our citizens who meet the criteria to come home, that they should be allowed to come home and the process should flow. If they need more workers to clear these persons, then it should happen. But we will not accept it, I am saying to the Prime Minister outgoing that we will not accept the frustration of our people who would apply to come home to participate in the election and carry out their constitutional duty and their duty as a citizen to exercise their franchise. We will not accept the frustration of that process. So, to answer your question, we, of course, encourage all citizens who are eligible to vote whether they're here or not, and to comply with the laws and regulations which say you can come home and you can exercise your franchise. And we are saying that the national security will not be allowed to frustrate these people, because we will not accept it. So I'm putting the outgoing prime minister on notice that is something we are keeping a very, very close eye on.
Dr. Drew,
Yes.
Speaking of the eligibility of the overseas voters, there has been some changes, though, to what qualifies one to be able to vote coming in terms of the residency. I
Right,
think there were
so-
some amendments
So
that were
those
made.
those were spoken of. Those were never passed.
Oh, they were never passed.
They were never
Okay.
passed. Right. So we are clear that the law is what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, Dr. Drew.
Have you,
Yeah, go ahead,
have you
Darren.
conducted any polls? Have you conducted any polls? Last question, probably my last question.
Well,
have you
we
been
have
conducting
we,
any
we have
polls to give you a
we-
sense of what's happening?
right. We have access to polling, and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party continues to lead in these polls. We are expected to win the majority of seats here in St. Kitts and be able to form a government based on the polling over the last year. I would say, and that the party stands very, very strong at this point in time. We had a change in leadership. We had a change in our structures and our rebranding and presentation. So we are standing very, very strong at this time, even locally here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we know where we are. We continue to be the strongest party, and we have, of course, stepped up the game, and we are fortified and we are ready to go. So our polling has shown that, and their polling too has shown that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party stands the best chance of forming the next government. And that is why I say with confidence that Dr. Timothy Harris is the outgoing Prime Minister. He will not be Prime Minister again.
All right. Dr. Drew, we are at a place now where from my circle, the people that I've been talking to seem to want to put this particular chapter behind us and feel as though the way to get there is through election.
Yes.
To your understanding, when is the latest date that we could have the election, given the announcements on Monday? And do you have any idea? Well, let me put it this way: when do you speculate that the election may be called?
Right. So I had called for fresh elections when I noticed what had happened, because even if they had tried to fix this, it would have been very bad for our country. Because when you have people in cabinet accusing the Prime Minister of being dishonest and untrustworthy, these are not even my words. I have not, they have leveled these things against the Prime Minister better than I can do it, because they have been in the cabinet with him. We know of the actions of Timothy Harris because he used to be with Labour, and we warned them not to join with Timothy Harris. We were bashed, we were called all kind of names. I myself, I was dragged through the mud and so forth on these issues. However, 7 years later, everything we said, they have come to recognize, and more, and more. And so the only thing that could really resolve this is an election. And so I had called for an election in a statement that I put out. And according to the Constitution, up to August 8th, I think, 90 days since he dissolved Parliament, he has to call the elections. And so we are expecting that, not expecting, it has to be before that. So the announcement. So we think that it might be somewhere in July or so. I think he will go for middle ground. That is what I think, yes. But I want people to know that, if he thinks that he's buying for time, the more time that he is out there not calling an election, the more people get to know who he is. And as people get to know that, they would recognize that he has to go. But it's not only him I'm speaking of. But what is disappointing is that we are hearing from the other cabinet members that things were not always well. They're now saying to us it was really bad. So it means less than 2 years ago when you came to the people and we said things were bad in Team Unity, and you said to the people that the ship is sailing well and Team Unity is flourishing and the people of St. Kitts can look for a bigger, stronger future, something like that. That was all a farce. It was all a farce. And at the end of the day, it is our country that is left and made to suffer. So that is when I think elections would be called.
All right. Well, I mean,
Go ahead,
Darren. Go ahead, Darren.
I'm going to have to go in about 2-3 minutes because it's almost 9 o'clock and we have some messages to share. So may I ask one final question?
For sure, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Drew,
Sure.
over in Antigua, there is a perception in some circles that St. Kitts is a very well-managed place. Credit has been given to the incumbent, because they're the ones in power, for a number of initiatives, stimulus for citizens who have been impacted by the pandemic, double salaries. We can go through the list, but for time. What would you say to us here in Antigua who look at St. Kitts as an example to follow in terms of governance, in terms of the structure of government, in terms of the orderliness of society, which are things that people have spoken well of over here in Antigua? Is it just a mirage?
Yes, well, it has to be a mirage. If you have a government that is falling less than 2 years before, after the election, less than 2 years, well, there's no greater evidence that this was a mirage. This could not have been true. And when you hear the ministers inside the cabinet accusing the prime minister of the worst things and the prime minister accusing them of the worst things, it was all a mirage. So when you ask them, if things were really floating so well and was so well, why is it the government has fallen shy of 2 years after general elections? So there's no evidence greater than that. But let me follow up your point about all this money. When the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party left government in 2015, about $1.5 billion were left. We had enough money to pay off all of our debt, get rid of poverty completely. And so when you look at the stimulus package that was given to our people, based on what you have, if a man have $100 and something costs 10 cents, the man could buy a lot of things for 10 cents. And you would expect the man to, of course, offer something better if he has more. The stimulus that was offered, if you look at it, people were offered $1,000 for 3 months and so forth. We were saying that was not enough. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party been through this in 2008 during the Great Recession. They didn't call it a depression then, because it didn't meet the economic parameters to be called that. And during that time, what the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party did, instead of allowing people to go home and giving them a stimulus, the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party paid people full salary. We took Marriott's payroll and we paid all the workers and told Marriott nobody will go home. I think the people of St. Kitts, some people may have taken that for granted. People who were out of work, so the country continued to move on during the Great Recession, and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis did not feel the brunt of it. Had the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party been there, we had a number of initiatives because we had the money to do it. All those workers would have been taken care of. Not one worker would have been sent home without a salary. The taxi drivers would not have been given $1,000 for 3 months. We would, of course, have had a more comprehensive program to deal with them. And so we have a whole level. Yes. Right. So we had all those things.
I'm sorry.
Okay, good. No problem.
It's almost 9, so I have to take my leave.
No
and
problem.
I know you will be on with me at some point.
Yes, I'll be on with you very soon.
Jade, all right. Jade and Azem, thank you so much for this party this morning. All the best.
Have a good one.
Have a wonderful weekend, all of you.
All right, Darren, you take care.
And your listeners and your organization.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Terrance Drew.
Dr. Drew, you want to go ahead and finish what you were saying?
Right. So I wanted to finish that point with respect to how it was managed. I know that a lot of people were locked down in their houses without food. Remember, during the height of the pandemic, I started a foundation. The foundation completed a year this year because when I recognized that people were suffering and hurting, remember we had people who were working in the factories. Many of them didn't receive a stimulus. And we know that their work hours were being cut and so forth. Remember, we had the self-employed people who could not get work, and they were not receiving stimulus. They were hurting. And I started the foundation. And the first thing my foundation did was to distribute food packages, very hefty food packages that could last up to 2 weeks. And the reason why we did that is that we recognized that the people were hurting. At that point, I was saying to the government, why are you allowing the people to hurt so much when we have over $1 billion in the treasury and within the CBI combined, over $1 billion. And the people suffered tremendously. I remember people writing me and said, I don't have Pampers for my child. I don't have children food and so forth. And that is why I started the foundation. And the foundation was able to help a lot of people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I decided that I would have taken the risk because I couldn't just be talking. I wanted to help the people during the most difficult need. And so we did that. And so the people suffered unnecessarily. So even the taxi drivers, they should not have had to wait months to get a stimulus pay. They should have set that up long time ago. The hotel workers who were sent home and couldn't get a paycheck, we are saying that they should have been paid at least the minimum wage until the pandemic would have passed. So we should have put a package together, which might have cost a few $100 million, but we had the money to do it so that people would not have had to suffer. And with all of that, the thing is now, The outgoing prime minister is now coming and trying to be the savior of the people. So you let the people hurt, and after they are hurt so much, you come and give them something as if you are the savior. But I want people to reflect and remember those very dark hours when the electricity was cut during a pandemic, when the water was cut during a pandemic because they could not find jobs, they could not continue to work. And we are saying we need a more comprehensive program put together. But remember the workers' rights. This exposed workers' rights. Workers' rights were exploited. People were sent home, denied the severance pay because they did not take a vaccine. And the no job policy, we are saying, was an inhumane type of policy that we would not have sanctioned at all. And workers suffer. And we were placed under an unnecessary type of lockdown situation. We had laws in place that could have taken care of all of that. But part of putting us under a state of emergency was for election purposes, to make sure that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party could not campaign. And that is why the New York Times, in its June 21st edition 2020, I remember that very clearly, said that democracy is under threat in the Americas and the Caribbean, and St. Kitts and Nevis was the highlight of the article. New York Times, June 21st, 2020, because we were locked down unnecessarily. And the outgoing prime minister took the opportunity to go on a political platform in Marriott when we could not have political platforms, undermining our democracy, denying the opposition from having a good campaign when they had won, and said 14 days, who outs the out, who ins the in. That is the kind of thing that the prime minister said. That is why he's going to be punished at this election, because you should not take the people for granted. And the last thing I want to say on this issue, we can all remember his famous words: fast and pray. People had no food to eat, and his response was fast and pray. And then when he was asked, where's the food coming from? He said, the boats are coming. Nothing put in place to strengthen our food security situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But I would like to say to the Prime Minister, the people in election, they will tell you, please fast and pray. We're not voting for you.
All right.
Well, there was a statement that you made after our last interview with the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, and it said, under my leadership, the great SKNLP will not join with Timothy Harris. The good people of PLP are welcome home. Even though you don't foresee a situation where you join with the PLP party, is there any other party that you see you could have this type of coalition government with?
I have no problem with the PLP supporters at all. As a matter of fact, I love them very much. I am in contact with a lot of them. And I'm telling them that they are welcome to be a part of it. So I want them to know that. I am not sitting down with Timothy Harris, but I have no problem with the supporters of PLP. And I want that to be clear. And the reason why I have said that and made it clear, it is because it is obvious. If you sit with Timothy Harris, he look you in your eye and he tell you A when he really means B. Everybody is saying the same thing. Every political party is saying the same thing. So I am not going to sit with Timothy Harris. PLP as an organization, I want to encourage the supporters to look at St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and many of them were members of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and I'm saying to them, come home. I am going to receive them. We are going to receive them with open arms. I'm asking them to come home. Let's re-establish our relationships. Let's get back to the foundation of the principles of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and let's continue to build this country. So I stand by my statement, and I wanted Timothy Harris to be separated from the supporters of PLP, because I love the supporters of PLP. I know many of them. Many of them were former Labour supporters, and I'm welcoming them home. But I'm not sitting down with Timothy Harris. And I have nothing personal against Timothy Harris. I love Timothy Harris as a child of God. I have no hatred in my heart for nobody. But when you sit with somebody, there has to be some level of trust. And where there is no trust, how can you start to even negotiate? It will be impossible.
Understood, but bear in mind that, of course, there are other political organizations within the federation vying for seats. You spoke about the fact that the polls that you have seen, it does seem as though the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will be able to be victorious at the polls and able to form a government, which, let's be honest, that means minimum 6 seats.
Yes.
If that is not the case, though, and a situation occurs where there is less than 6 seats that are won by the Labour Party, would the Labour Party be open to forming a coalition government with other parties? Now, bear in mind, I want to say this. I think that there are a lot of people who believe in the concept, whether you call it unity, whether you call it coalition,
Right.
who believe that if there are people representing supporters from different political backgrounds in the government, in the cabinet, then it bodes well for the electorate, having someone there to speak on their behalf. So how is there a possibility? Is there a avenue where you see that happening?
Right. So I would ask the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to give us a clear mandate so that we can have a platform and create the best opportunity for stable government based on what has happened. But I would say this: the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has always governed with other parties. And we are not averse to that at all. The situation arises, St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will, and even if we were to win 6 outright, I can tell people that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will have discussion with others about how can we govern together. What can we do together? So even if we were to give them that clear mandate and we're asking the people for it so that we can stabilize the state of affairs here, we are not averse. As a matter of fact, we are open to different ideas. We are willing to talk to honest, good, people who mean well, people who we can trust to some level, who even know if you have some differences, you and them can say, we know we have differences, but we can meet each other here. And my word is my bond. We can agree to these things. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is an open party. And even if we were to win, remember, we were in that situation before, and NRP was invited to the table. We didn't need them to form a government, but we said, come NRP, sit with us, and let's see how, you're from Nevis, we're from St. Kitts, how can we do this thing better? I remember in 1993, when you had that stalemate, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party offered to our now fallen statesman, Vance Amory, the opportunity to be the first prime minister from Nevis. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party said, if you join with us, we'll make you the prime minister. And at that time, he said he will not get involved. And between 93 and 95, we know what took place. There was instability in the country, which was a result of the unstable government, because I had a minority government.
Right.
And therefore, but we are open party, and we are willing, of course. And we will still, even if given a clear mandate, we will still sit with others and say, how can we do this thing better? We are not an arrogant party. We don't purport that we have all the answers to everything. And so we will sit and have others by the table.
This is the reason I'm asking this and pushing this is because you have been very clear, even just a few minutes ago, on who you would not work with.
Right.
So I'm asking, is there a same level of clarity as to who you would be willing to work with at this time?
Well, I will discuss with anybody, even supporters from within PLP. I will sit and have discussion with. So PLP is not even an organization that I would not talk to members of the organization. It is just that. And I'm making it clear. And I want to say to have nothing personal against the outgoing prime minister. It is a matter of trust to run a country's serious business. Had there been trust in the coalition, we would not have had a fallen government in less than 2 years. So why should we go back down that same road? But I want the people, the members of PLP to know, you know me. You know me. A lot of them know me, and they know me well. They know that I have not one inkling of bad feeling towards them. I don't even have any personal bad feeling against Timothy Harris. It is beyond that, because I have nothing personal against him. I am just saying that when it comes to forming a situation where we can stabilize the government, we want to speak to people who, at least, even if there are differences, there can be basic level of trust. And I want the PLP supporters to know, you will not be left behind. You will not be left behind.
All right, I think there are a lot of people who anticipate, a situation where that would not, where that would have to happen, where there would have to be some sort of collaboration between the parties to form a majority. And so, of course, you are asking the people to give you a clear mandate, the Labour Party, to be able to form the government, and we just have to kind of wait and see how that plays out, what the people do at the end of the day. We are now obviously clear into election mode, and you guys, I think, have been strategic in your planning. I do believe the announcements of the full slate of candidates. I don't believe it was a coincidence. I think you mentioned it. You would have saw what would have been happening in some of the other islands,
Yes.
and would have prepared so that your party does not suffer a similar fate. You now have a full slate of candidates. You have been campaigning. You had a rally last night.
Yes.
What was the response coming out of that rally last night?
Well, thank you very much. We went down to Halfway Tree, of course, to buttress and to show our support to our candidate, Samuel. I want to say that Samuel is an excellent candidate. He is people-centered. He has been working within the community, even though he was not a candidate or any political figure at that time. His service was of a tremendous level of success. And I want to encourage him. I want to encourage the people of Halfway Tree and constituency number 4 to vote for Samuel Duggins. They have seen him, they have tested him, they have touched flesh with him, and they know that he has their interests first at heart. And we had an excellent, excellent meeting. The energy was tremendous down there. We were able to speak to the people about a number of important issues. I touched on the health issue. I touched on the marijuana issue. I touched on the issue of good governance and bringing stability to St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course to encourage the people of Halfway Tree to vote for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party at that point. So I will say that meeting had energy. The people are ready, and of course, once the people are ready, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will make sure that we are also ready, so that we can win the next election. So there was a lot of energy. The community came out. So we are very, very pleased with what took place last night.
Well, as someone who has not been elected to parliament as yet, would it not be risky for the electorate to position you for the job of Prime Minister as your first time in parliament if you do win in the next general election?
Right. I would go back to our history, because when our first national hero, Robert Llewellyn Bratcher, His Excellency, God bless his soul, was a young black man from St. Paul's who had a disability that he suffered in a machine shop at the factory with only a 7th standard education. And he said boldly to the plantocracy that what I can bring to St. Kitts and Nevis is much better than what you're offering. And they ridiculed him for his skin color, ridiculed him for where he was from, ridiculed him for his disability. He was not the only one. The others who were on the slate with him, Joseph and France from Nevis, Paul Southwell from Dominica. These were Caribbean men. And they did not believe that black men in the Caribbean could have led stable countries. And for many years, they were shut out and denied even the very right to vote. And Robert Bratcher, that young black man from St. Paul's, was elected. And the rest is history. He established our healthcare foundation, educational foundation, good governance foundation, and he established the foundation of social security, our social safety net. He got back the lands for our people. That is why you and I can live in places like Frigate Bay if we can afford it. That is why we can even go to the beach in Frigate Bay. He brought all of that, and he laid the foundation. And so he was asked that question, and he answered it well. And so I would say that when the questioner asks of persons like us, we're asking them to look at us wholesomely. I've been in politics now on the platform for almost 10 years. I think people would have heard me and they would have seen me. Same thing was asked of other young leaders like Barack Obama, a young black man with a strange name. Can you stabilize America and take it forward? They said he had no experience. JFK said the same thing. When you go to people like Abraham Lincoln, you're a prairie lawyer. Can you help this great nation of the United States of America? Not only did he help it, he had a civil war, and he, of course, helped America to end the slavery situation and so forth. And so the question would always be asked, and is a logical question to ask. And countries have been asked these tough questions before. But I would say that in readying myself, that people have seen me and I have the gravitas to deal with the challenges. Even my own training as a medical doctor and a specialist have given me the mental fortitude and the clarity of mind to understand what it takes to operate at very high levels of difficulties, stress, and challenges, which I have been through and have been tested. And as you say, I come in here looking fresh. God, don't take on the stress. My mind is clear where I want St. Kitts and Nevis to go. But added to that, I have people around me as well. This is not a one-man thing. If you look at the team of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, it's a fresh team. People who have been tested in their areas. We are young, but we are accomplished in our areas. And that is why we are saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, this is a great opportunity to have a paradigm shift. When you go to constituency number 1, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, just a short time in Parliament, but none would question his capacity and ability. When you go to constituency number 2, you have Marsha there. She's a tested lawyer, community worker, activist, strong woman, quiet giant, we call her. When you go to constituency number 3, Conris's accomplishment, even though he's young, he has the most crowns under his belt, I think. And he is an engineer as well. When you go to number 4, Samuel has been on the seat for such a long time, an entertainer. He has taken agriculture to the next level with hydroponics, where he was the man of the year for agriculture. When you go to number 5, you have a man like Kenny. None would question his contribution to sports and development. He's actually the physio and support for the national team and national service. His Excellency Kenny has demonstrated. When you go to number 6, the veteran politician. Every team has a veteran. And none can question 20 years of prime ministership. You might have your question, but we have a veteran who understands the good and the bad. We will learn the errors even that were made under his administration and learn from the good. When you have a veteran, you learn both things, and you get the opportunity to avoid any pitfalls. And the same with me, as I pass on to another one, I will be able to tell what are the pitfalls, what went right, what went wrong, what can we do better. When you come to number 7, you have Comrade Leon, who challenged the Prime Minister and have brought liberation to all civil servants here in St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of the ability to participate in a political life, being a civil servant. And when you come to constituency number 8, I admit that, yes, I'm in constituency number 8, but I think that I have the level of educational background, the gravitas in the community, my work within the community, and so forth, that, have, prepared me for this. So I'm working in the context of a team with many good people around who want to see us go forward, just as other young leaders came forward and were supported by those who would have been more experienced and so forth. But I think the capacity is what we have to look at, a clear vision of where I want to help to lead St. Kitts and Nevis and the opportunity for a new day, a better way.
Whoa. So there's another big talking point that has been coming up time and time again with each election, which is the talking point about bribes and people receiving things in order for them to vote. Will the Labour Party introduce a campaign finance regulation so that the country can know who is funding the campaigns?
Right. So that is one of the definite things we are looking at. There has to be a part and parcel going forward. Campaign finance reform. These are discussions that really, really need to take place. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis are well educated. Let me give you an example why I know we need to have this discussion with the population. When I was in the United States of America, I noticed two things. That those who actually had the political knowledge were those who were well educated. In St. Kitts and Nevis, I can live out of here and go down the road and meet a man working in whatever he's working in. Even the man who is working in some jobs that are not considered intellectual jobs. and you can have a serious political discussion with them because they understand the politics and they know the politics. And they know that finance in politics in St. Kitts and Nevis, it needs reforming. I'm saying to the population, it needs reforming. I'm saying to the young people, we have to form NGOs to pressure the government for these things, because I want us as citizens to know that we have to do it. It's not just about political parties alone. If there's an issue with that, the people themselves have to come forward. But apart from that, we are committed to start those discussions because they must start. They must happen in order for us to do it. Campaign finance must be looked at. And I think if it is looked at and if it is addressed, I think it would help to create a country that I think would be more open, more transparent, and more based on the principles of good governance. So I want to say that those discussions will start under St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration. Must start. Very, very important.
So you're saying that speaks to the fact that there is an already recognizable issue with the way campaigns are funded, or at least the lack of transparency that exists with where the funding comes from, and then who is then beholden to who based on that.
Right.
So presently though, because for me, I almost feel as though I may have a clearer understanding as to the situation in some of the other countries than I do here. When we see money being spent on campaigns, whether it is concerts, rallies, and these things cost money, and I generally don't know where this tends to come from. Like, so based on the context where you just laid out, the need for change, where does some of that money come from now, and why is it something that we should really worry about, at least here in St. Kitts?
Well, I wouldn't say the money come a lot of times from even our own citizens. They give to the campaign. They contribute to the campaign. Some of our citizens contribute, and they may not want their names to be out there because of the political tribalism. Sometimes they think if they are known to give to a particular party, that if that party doesn't win, they might be on the chopping block and so forth in terms of getting opportunities. So a lot of it also come from our own people and persons who are interested in development of St. Kitts and Nevis. What we are looking at is how can you introduce a system to make this more open and make this more transparent so that people can see exactly what is taking place. Here in the Caribbean, it is fundamentally, we have not advanced our democracies to that level as yet. It is a next step in our advancement, and I think that it has to be up for serious discussion. But a lot of our people do it. Sometimes people say, I can't give, but I'll give in kind, I'll give in time. So sometimes you might see something happen and somebody say, look, I have this and this is my donation to you. It might just be, okay, I can give you 2, 3 free gigs. That is for you. Some people might say, I can give you, so the people give in, kind, and people give in different ways and so forth. So that is a discussion that definitely must be had. What I'm saying here with all of this that you're asking is that our people have reached the point where we're asking for a paradigm shift with how things are happening within our country. Our young people are asking for more transparency, openness, and good governance. The people in general, they're asking for that. One person said to me, if you go in there and you don't deliver this to the people will never trust you again. And they are correct with that. That is why I'm saying to the people, you have the opportunity for a paradigm shift. This past Team Unity that has fallen shy of 2 years, which is very disappointing, brought to the people a good governance agenda. And when I was on the radio after 2015 saying, look at their manifesto, they have not instituted nothing. Even the Integrity in Public Life Commission, they could not start because they refused to fund it. That is what I'm talking about. And so they had to change the chairperson for that commission. Even those things that we were speaking of, and they were accusing of us just playing politics, they are now coming to say to us that none of it was achieved or none of it was implemented. But this is the other thing I would like to say. That is why you have elections, because people need to look at it and say, you promised this, you did not deliver. Please don't come promise us again. Let's move on. Let's give you a try. Because at some point you're going to find the right fit. Somebody is going to do it. So I don't want people to lose hope in the whole system. Because we still have a system where we have the opportunity to, because of the electoral system, you had a failed coalition because of mistrust and all these other corrupt things that they're accusing each other of inside there. That today you will have a next election. And I'm asking the people, they have failed you. They have not implemented it. So you have the opportunity to move on and elect the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and give the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party the mandate. Now you have the mandate. Let's see what you're going to do.
Right.
And if they don't do it, you go and say, well, you get out. Let's get a next set of people.
Right.
Maybe this next set will do it. So I'm telling people that it's a process. Do not give up on the process. Go and go until you get what you want. It is life. It is life.
Well, speaking of promises, and I think that that is the nature of politics, it's the nature of campaign, because you have to come to the people with plans, you have to come to the people with promises, and so you then have given a mandate to go ahead and achieve those things that you have promised. Some of the things that you have promised, and I will speak about, include things like the healthcare, which has been something that has been in the public discussion for quite some time, and even more so, I would say, over the past month. You being a medical doctor, I know this is something that you've commented on many times. I think Jade had a question in relation to that specifically. Jade?
Yes, well, you spoke about a brand new hospital.
Yes.
Have you made any headway on that? Have you allocated any funds? Have you figured out where this will go, allocated any land, that sort of stuff?
Right. So I actually have the hospital plan, and I promise I'll bring it the next time I come. And if you want to call me to show you the plan, I will show you the plan. The plan we started to put together since before 2015 and work on it even after that, because I wanted to bring something to the people that was very practical and not to be selling a pie in the sky. I already have a good idea of what the hospital cost, where it can be constructed, how it will be constructed. The hospital will be constructed in a modern way. We would have more than one floor. You would have a hospital that would have elevators, escalators. Our objective is to have the hospital set up like the private hospital and the private ward, so that everybody, why you shouldn't, even if you're a poor man, you should have a good hospital to go to. That is the principle on which we are basing the new thrust of the healthcare system. Doesn't matter who you are, you'll be guaranteed to be treated excellently as a human being first. And so I have that plan already. And so we are going to do that. And I want people to know that in order to deliver new services, JNF would need a lot of work to refurbish it. You do a new hospital. We will not only be catering for our people, but it will be of a standard where people can come in and get care here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we'll go into some health tourism as well, where we will be offering some services here that people can come from overseas, enjoy our nice weather while they're recuperating and recovering, and so forth. And our people would have access to that high level of care. And then everybody would have universal health care. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody, whether you're self-employed or not, you will be covered and you'll be guaranteed a good level of care. We deserve it. We're a high-income country. We can afford it. And that is why I'm saying, I hear that they're going to build a prison. I have nothing with prison. I just think that in terms of priority, the priority should have been our healthcare system at this point in time. So we know that the money is there, because we know that the money can be generated to build a new healthcare system. So it's not just going to be a new hospital. I want people to understand that. It will be new services, new system. For example, do you know that nobody in St. Kitts who have asthma get a lung function test? And we have a high level of asthma patients here. Not one. So, and I'm talking about basic things. A machine that costs $2,000 to $3,000, so that every asthma patient can have a lung function test, or what we call a spirometry, to see the state of asthma. These are the basic things I'm talking about. And the old hospital will not be abandoned. We have what you call allied health services. There are some people who cannot be in the hospital and should not be in the hospital, but they cannot go home. We can create that as a step-down system for them. So you can't go home yet, but you're not as sick to be in a hospital, so we can put you in that step-down. JNF can serve as that. We need an area for pulmonary services. You come in and you get your lung. We need an area for cardiovascular services, neurological services, skin services. So I got to go to all these services, and JNF the present structure we have can serve to give you all of that. So whatever your situation, and you need we have the oncology unit, we need a radiation unit as well. We know that the old JNF can actually also be used for these what we call allied health services. We need to upgrade the kitchen. Kitchen is in very, we don't, it has to be upgraded. Let me put it that way. All those galvanized leaking on JNF, you go up there, you don't know if you're standing in the rain or under a shelter. Those things will be corrected. When you look at the morgue up there, where people have family go through autopsies, just looking at the place alone is depressing enough. Even when you are dead, you should be dealt with dignity. And we want to create those conditions. We'll have new MRI, both closed and open. And MRI is not that expensive, maybe $1 million US. For high-income countries, pocket change. You'll make back the money, even giving people very affordable costs, because you just want to pay people an operational cost, not to make profit. So the high cost over the biomedical center of $1,500 for MRI, more than people's minimum wage per month, salary per month. I'm laughing because it's laughable. Those things will come to an end, and they'll come to an end quickly. And the other thing on the healthcare, all those who have sponsorships out there, who have serious illnesses looking sponsored, the government will quickly take care of them. So we'll get rid of the sponsorships off the street. If you carry a sponsorship because you want to carry a sponsorship, but you will be guaranteed good basic healthcare here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is where we're going to take it. So everybody's going to benefit. You're all going to benefit as well.
Well, another hot topic, as you may call it, is the term limits.
Yes.
Your predecessor was in power for about 20 years, and people are wondering if that is something that the Esken Labour Party is looking at as well, to implement the same 2-term limits that have been proposed by the current government.
Right. So that is a very important question. I will say in our Westminster system, the people normally determine how long a sitting prime minister stays. I'm going to tell you my commitment. My commitment is that given the opportunity to be the prime minister of this country, I will spend a particular length of time, which is, for me, no more than 2 terms. The reason why I'm saying that, and people ask me, I say, as Dr. Joe say, yes, if I spend more than 2 terms, 80% of the population has to agree to that I spend more than 2 terms. But I'm saying to them that that is my intention. Even within my party, we discuss the issue of this. So for my commitment, you know why I take this so seriously, and people have to hold it against me. You elect me as prime minister. If I don't agree to 2 terms within the first part of my prime ministership, hold it against me. Hold it against me. Why am I saying that? Because I have looked at the situation, and to continuously, effectively, serve people at a very high level, it is an extremely stressful situation. We have to admit it. Very, very challenging. And time, of course, can breed complacency. And, we are not infinite beings. We are finite beings with a finite amount of ideas and so forth. And I think the days of having people dying in power after a prolonged period of time, I think human beings are quickly moving on from that. The way our natural history as persons on this earth is developing, we are moving from that. So I want people to hold me to that. Hold me to that, because that is where my principle lies.
Well, I mean, and we are going to probably, you're down to take some calls? Like, is that something you'll be willing to do?
I don't know what is the flow of your show, if that is the...
Well, I know there are people who would love to interact with you, so if you are open to it, we'll probably do that in a few minutes. But before we even do that, we're like I said, we're in election mode. Everybody's campaigning, and of course, the hot topic is the dissolution of Parliament, of the situation between the members, the party members of Team Unity. We just spoke about the need for a new hospital and improvements in the healthcare system, and we've also spoken a bit about electoral reform and integrity in public life. Are there any other issues that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party sees as being topics that they need to address during this campaign because of the importance to the electorate?
Right. One of the major things is workers' rights. We are going to advance workers' rights here in St. Kitts and Nevis because I think that the pandemic really exposed how easily the lack of rights that our workers have. People are being sent home on a whim. People are being sent home with just a few weeks of pay and no explanation has to be given. And so we are saying that workers' rights will be strengthened here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are also saying that we need an industrial court where people can go and have their issues addressed as workers. So workers' rights will definitely be on the table. Why? When you think about people like Curtis Crook and Donnie Rollins, who would have been sent home without severance pay after working so many years in an institution, we are saying that that cannot be the way in which we treat our workers. Our party was initially called the Workers' League. We are a workers' party, and therefore we'll advance workers' rights here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so that will be definitely on the table. The other one is food security. We are going to take agriculture very, very seriously. We know that there are modern techniques and modern ways of growing more food and providing more food for our people if we implement the technology. And I think Comrade Samuel Duggins of constituency number 4, a candidate there, he has a hydroponic farm, which I have visited. He was Man of the Year for agriculture and so forth. So we are not just talking and making promises, but as you can see, our candidates have actually achieved many of the things that we seek to achieve. And that food security, agriculture, would be a fundamental part also in going forward on our platform. When it comes to education, we are going to, of course, modernize the education, as Comrade Jeffrey would have said, Honorable Comrade Jeffrey from constituency number 1, and he spoke about introducing the technologies such as laptops. He talked about assistance to all of our students to go to college, whether it's CFBC or they go to tertiary level institutions throughout the region and around the world, that we will enhance the educational opportunities for our people as well. And we want to say to our people that we want to create an identity. Who are you as a Kittitian? Who am I as a Kittitian? What does that mean? What does that represent? When it comes to the orange economy, which is entertainment, and I'm sad to know that people in St. Kitts doesn't take entertainment as serious as they should. As a matter of fact, I would tell you, one of the best scientists in the world, he's at the State University of New York. I think his name, he is of Asian descent. I think his name is Mako. I'll have to get his name. He was describing what will be the scientific development of the future. And he said that entertainment will become the center of all activities.
Imagine that.
Imagine.
I want to contend that it's already that, but
yes,
I want to contend it's already that.
Because he said on the path that we are going with technological development, we would have solved a lot of our energy needs, food needs, because the technology will get so advanced, scientific advancement, that the thing that will really center us as human beings would be entertainment. And it was quite interesting. So the orange economy, entertainment will be a fundamental part. We are going to make sure that our entertainers get the support that they need, that they can market themselves. If they can't market themselves, they'll definitely get support from the government. And Congress, Comrade Conway from constituency number 3, who himself is an entertainer at a very high level, is looking at that keenly, and we'll make sure that entertainment become a fundamental part. Because if we have good, our people here are good, they get the opportunities, they can go abroad, be part of music festivals in different areas and so forth, you know, as even they participating in the local economy. So we're not just thinking locally, but to give them opportunities on the regional and international level. So with our talent here, I mean, when you listen to people like Infamous and Dejo, I don't even want to call Nick, I don't want to leave any names. So if I leave out your name, it's not intentional. You know, even yourself, you know, the multi-talented man right here.
Indeed he is.
You know?
Appreciate it.
Yes, you all will know that with the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, entertainment. I mean, my family is also entertainment. My dad, my sister, they're fully into entertainment. So I know it for sure. I mean, my sister grew up on a radio. I didn't into the radio as much as she was. So, I tell people she's just in her early 40s, but she has at least 30 years of experience under her belt. They're talking about Sister Sensia, because our father used to take us to the radio station when we were teenagers. She was interested in on the radio. I wasn't interested that much. I was reading science books then. Yeah, so I'm just saying that for entertainers, that will be a very good part. The blue economy, we'll also be looking at that, So we have a number of innovative things that we want to look at. Even with expanding our tourism product, we want that to be expanded as well. So we are saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, which is predominantly innovative, youthful, and I say youthful, and I use the word youthful because even though we are youthful, we have tremendous amount of experience in the different fields in which we endeavor to really pursue as part of a government, to bring a paradigm shift to our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'm excited about it. So with all the political quagmire that is taking place, there's hope, and there's hope in the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party.
All right, man, I appreciate it. But guys, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more conversation right here on Island T. Stick and stay. Don't go nowhere.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Track is back! Track is back! That's right! Track is back! SKN Athletics and Rams presents the first ever primary school relay championship. Come and witness over 20 primary schools vie for the title. The championships take place on Sunday, May 15th at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium from 1 p.m. Tickets are $25 for the Kim Collins Pavilion, $10 for the grounds and stands. Children under 12 pay only $5. Grab your tickets from Rams Supermarket, Bay Road, St. Kitts. It's the Rams Primary School Relay Championship. Check it.
All right, guys, welcome back to Island T, right here on Win Media SKN. It's Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th.
I just realized that.
Yeah, but
So you gonna watch a little Freddy Cougar later?
no. Yeah, of course, anything less to be uncivilized. But guys, we have only a few more minutes with the doctor here. Of course, this is time when he has to split his energy between so many different things. And so we really appreciate you taking the time out to come and hang with us. But he has agreed to spend a few more minutes with us, and we are going to open up the phone lines so that you can interface with him and make your comments, ask any questions. We just ask that you, one, be brief, and to be respectful, behave yourself.
That's all.
Behave yourself.
We cutting people.
But guys, of course, we always appreciate when you're a part of the show, and so here we go. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island T. What's up?
Good morning, host, and good morning, Dr. Drew.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Pleasant morning.
It's always a pleasure and a good thing to listen And this morning, you talk a lot. And it has been said that he who speaks the most do the less. And I understand some of the commitment that you say, hold your feet to the fire. But my thing is that we've been listening to everyone telling us the same thing. We want to see legislation passed that keep politicians in checks and balance. We want your commitment to do those things. As the lady have asked you this morning, are you willing to put the two term for Prime Minister in place? Not your single commitment and hold you to it. We want it in legislation. We want something passed. We also want something that put the pension in place, that you will reduce salaries to meet those pensions, because people are getting pension without making any contribution to those pensions, and they're becoming entitled to something out of principle that they does not put anything into. There's some things that need to be fixed, that have to be fixed, and it takes strong men to do those things. That's all I have to say. Congratulations, you are going to get a gift. Your gift going to be into government because other people screwed up. So the thing is, do your thing. But listen to the people, because they're the one you will be working for.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Yes.
All right, thank you, caller, so much. Again, we have another caller. Caller, good morning. Oh, we lost a caller. Someone else is trying to get in. I'm sure they'll be brief. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island. What's up?
Yes, good morning to the host and to the guest, Dr. Drew.
Yes, good morning.
Real quickly, we know that one of the two sticking points that face this outgoing Prime Minister is the fair share for Nevis. So I just wanted to get a quick synopsis from him as to how he proposed to get this fair share for Nevis cemented down, so we don't have to keep going through, this problem keep coming up.
Yes.
Thanks. That's all I have, and good luck for you in the upcoming snap election.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, you want to go ahead and
yes.
comment on that?
So I'll answer the last question about the fair share for Nevis. I am committed to the fair share of every citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. When you look at what took place, especially with the CBI, and I have held the position that the passport says St. Kitts and Nevis, so there should be no question that people should sit down, and we quickly will sit down in a government and look at a fair and acceptable way of really making sure that Nevis and St. Kitts, that we are happy and that there is fairness. I am deeply committed to that. There's nothing else. How can you not be committed to that? How can I not be committed to that? I don't want to see what you call lopsided development. If there's development here in St. Kitts, there should be development there in Nevis as well. And Nevis should have, based on negotiations, not an accord, but these things need to be deeply put in legislation and committed to. So I'm committed to that.
Do you at this time have a proposal for what that would look like to take into these negotiations?
Right. So into these negotiations, I cannot say that I have everything, but they will be based on principles. And the principles govern, of course, good governance will be a part of it, transparency and openness. And the principle also of fairness and overarching justice. What is just for both St. Kitts? What is just for both St. Kitts and Nevis? And so those are the principles in which we will approach. When you hear the Nevisians would say, we don't even know how much is in the CBI, and they're being told that they can't know. I mean, those are things that are unacceptable. Those are unacceptable things. For example, when we asked how many passports were sold, we were told it's an industry secret. Okay, you don't want to reveal it to all, but at least in the cabinet members must know, because we know that the CBI is in the office of the Prime Minister, and we don't know how the money is being spent. And this idea of St. Kitts and Nevis always in some sort of, strife here and so forth. We have to bring an end to that. And I can't say all of the issues can be resolved in one day, but there has to be a mandate and a strategy and structures and processes in place to make sure we constantly review and update to make sure, again, that the people of St. Kitts and the people of Nevis, we all feel a sense of fairness and justice being given to all of us. So that is my commitment, and the people of Nevis can be assured of that.
All right, man. I appreciate the answer. I'm sure the caller does as well. Like you mentioned, time is fast spent, and you
Yes.
have other places that you need to be. I just have one other comment, and you know, if you feel the need to, then I'd like to hear your response.
Yes.
A lot of what has been happening, I think, leaves the people, the general population, with this feeling almost as it's out of our hands. Like, what do we really have to do? Do we really have to wait until one man, the prime minister, the person who holds that office, to call elections for us to be able to exercise our vote and to speak in a really intelligible way about what is it that we feel and what is it that we want? When we start speaking about what the people want, we had a caller just call in and speak about, the people want term limits for prime minister.
Yes.
And these kind of things. I believe what that signals to me is that we're at a place where we have to begin giving the electorate more opportunities to say exactly what it is that they want. I believe the way you do that in our democracies is through referendums.
Yes.
Given the advancements in technology, I believe it is easier to facilitate such processes where it won't be as invasive in our day-to-day operations. Is that something that the Labour Party has discussed at a party level? Is it something that they would hope to institute? Is it something that we could really hold the Labour Party to? Because I do believe that there's a feeling that what we do is we elect our dictators for the next 5 years. And I really believe the only way to get rid of that feeling, or not only just that feeling, but that stigma, is to give persons more and more opportunities to be vocal in a real way about decisions that are being taken by the politicians.
Right, and what you are saying is absolutely necessary and important, and that is why I spoke about before legislation is passed that these should be discussed at the local level, and people have an opportunity to make their input, and people would have the opportunity to say, look, to put forward an idea to the government that has to be considered on some level. If there's consensus and build, that would have been built around it. The Labour Party would have spoken about referendum on a number of issues. And so we, of course, we believe in the principle of referendum. There are a number of things that we would have to ask the people their opinions on. For example, should we go to and become a federal system where our head of state will be a local head of state? I am saying that that's a discussion that needs to be had. And of course, it should be taken to the people, and it should be ask the people to share what they believe with respect to this. Remember, under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Nevis would have had a referendum to determine if they would stay with St. Kitts Nevis as a state or they will go separately. So we have been through that, and we will go through that again to have the population participating actively in the political life. When you look at how our system is structured, we can elect a dictator, as you said, without any checks and balances, because what happened last time, that even the ministers in the cabinet could have checked the prime minister. It is how the system is set up. And then he would say, I will not give up this, or I will not give up that, because you'll be belittling the office of the prime minister. That was his fundamental argument. I will not renege on anything, because if I do that, I will be diminishing the office of the prime minister. So there's no decentralization of power, so to speak, with respect to that. But because there's no separation of powers either. You have the legislature and the executive. There's it's crossing, and that affects. But we believe in the power of referendum. We believe there are a number of issues that have to be brought to the people that we need to discuss. One that I just gave you, whether we should go for a republic or not, so that we can move forward at it. And people talk about the all these things. Some of these definitely would have to be asked of the people to be implemented to move forward. So we are open to that. What will happen under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is that we will really create a paradigm shift. Remember, it was the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party to a great extent who started a lot of paradigm shifts here in the Caribbean, you know. And we, again, will do it. Because if we don't do it, the country will not settle down. If the issue of term limits is not implemented, the country will not settle down. If the issue of good governance, transparency, integrity, openness of a government, if these things are not addressed, the country will not settle down. The country will settle down when these things are put into legislation with the participation of the public saying exactly what they want, and therefore that would be also the objective of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. So we are really committed to these things, and referendum is definitely one of them.
All right. I mean, I'm very happy to hear that because, like I'm saying, I believe that goes a long way in helping to hold the politicians accountable as well as really get a true sense of what the people want. A lot of times we go, the people want this, and I'll be like, well, when this meeting happened? Well, yeah, he wasn't invited to the meeting.
I was never in one of these meetings.
Yeah, and I really believe we really need to create a culture where people feel more in tune and feel as though they have a real place in the decisions of the country and the direction of the country. And I believe because of, like, again, the advancements in technology, it really makes it more feasible for us to do that in a real way. Of course, time is fast spent. You have told us that you have to leave. And before you do, is there any last words briefly before you leave us?
Thank you very, very much. And the reason why I have to leave, it is because I'm going to the electoral office. I'm going to the court to accompany and support Comrade Shaq. Remember, charges were brought against Shaq for the demonstration. This is a democratic country. People demonstrated for their rights, and they are now being dragged into court. This is a banana republic, and I'm going to support Shaq, and I'm asking the people to support Shaq. I'm asking the government prosecutor, I'm asking the government that this does not make sense anymore. The pandemic is basically over. People suffer during it. People try to express themselves. This thing of holding this thing and looking at frivolous charges, as I will call them, against somebody who was peacefully there, as others were. I was there. And if I had not been there, we might have had a death, because the tear gas that was shot among the people, an asthma patient collapsed. And thank God I was there to quickly render medical care and get that patient to the hospital. So I'm happy that I was there as well. Those things did take place there. So I'm going to support Shaq and the others who are on these frivolous charges. I'm asking our population to tell the government, this thing is over. People were hurting. Just leave this thing behind us and let's move on. And then the second place I have to go is to the electoral office. A lot of shenanigans are happening in the electoral office.
Well, we've seen.
I really been hearing a call from the SKNLP to go to the electoral office and check. So what's been happening?
A lot of people names are just disappearing off the list. Yes, I have proof. As a matter of fact, I have proof of that, and I'm going to see if I can get the names back. Well, I will get the names back on. As Comrade Jeffrey would have said last night, he presented a list to the commissioner or the supervisor, and the names were just put back on the list. So I'm asking people to check their names on the list. Everybody should really check their names and make sure that the names are not off the list or the names are in some other place. So, of course, I have proof. Actually, after last election, they took off a lot of names off my list illegally, and that was part of my case going forward. Because had those names been added, it would have been a different, irrespective of everything else that took place. They just took off the names. The names just disappeared, and you couldn't get the names back on the list without hearings. So last night, Comrade Jeffrey revealed that he just took the names in, and the names were placed back on the list because no hearing was held. Again, the Comrade Marcella has a case where names were taken off, no hearing was held. As a matter of fact, the supervisor of elections sit in one of the meetings, one of the hearings, when he knows he cannot be there. And she brought it to the fore. Of course, the case was quickly dropped and the name was placed back on the list. So we do have proof, and we have brought this issue to the attention of the supervisor of election, but we are not taking any chances. For example, names are showing up in constituency number 8 of people who never lived in constituency number 8. And we'll go across, then you see these long lines of people who are being asked to register in areas where they know they don't live. And so I'm saying clearly that we not going to allow that to take place. We are going to challenge that. And that is why I'm going to the electoral office. So we need electoral reform. We need electoral reform to make sure that this does not occur with anything at all, or on any side at all. Let's be open. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, we know if we have equal boundaries here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we will not lose an election just because of the large base of support that we have. So having unequal boundaries benefited others, and it can be detrimental to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. So the fear of the system is the more it's bold for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, because we have the largest base of support. So I'm going to the electoral office. I'm asking people to go to the electoral office. We see some shenanigans taking place outside the electoral office. I did a live yesterday. I'm going to try to do a quick live again today, and to make sure that the integrity of the office remains intact, because without a good electoral system, you cannot have a good and strong democracy. After the elections, irrespective of the results, people must have had a confidence in the system that carried out that election. And that is what we are striving to achieve here in the St. Kitts Nevis, and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will continue to lead on these issues. And I would, say, of course, that, we are not vying to be any perfect of anything, but what we are vying to do is that we should always strive to continue to perfect our democracy.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time, of course, to come and hang out with us this morning. Sip on the bush tea, see what's going on.
Boy, I had some lemongrass and sagebush this morning.
Oh, that's a good mix-up. But the old people say not even bush, only add bush. So
only add bush.
So you gotta find something else to go.
So I gotta mix it up.
But appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And we look forward to the presentations by you and your colleagues over the upcoming weeks, as the people really look at the options available to them in order to make the most educated informed decision as to the direction of the country. So again, thank you so much for coming, and good luck with all your endeavors today.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Have a blessed one.
All right, man. Take care.
Well, Azam, there you have it. Great episode as usual. Great. We didn't get to give y'all no tea. I know there's a lot of things that have been happening in and around the world that y'all want us to talk about.
Tell us about it.
But we will talk about them on Monday. We'll give you guys a break from the politics.
Please. Okay, so this is what happened,
y'all
right?
do not know over the weekend, please.
See what happened, Jade? After an announcement like what happened on Monday, Tuesday, sorry. We really had to just talk to the leaders and see exactly where do a little check-in, see what's going on. And of course, we thank them so much. We had Mark Brantley, leader CCM.
Is that CPL?
No, CPL Johnson. And we have John L. who came in as well and spoke about his situation, and then today we had Dr. Drew.
Yes, so, and next week we will have someone else for you, but we will take a little break from the politics and give you some nice island tea as usual here. But we gotta go because our friend Miss Sandra is entering the studio, so stick and stay.
Sandra here, was that color last week?
No, you know she's staying. She doesn't match. She here to her clothes.
Sandra is a whole mood. It's a whole mood.
Yes.
But guys, we're gonna leave. We're gonna go. We're gonna have to disembark. And thank you guys so much for coming in and joining us today. But they joined us on YouTube, Facebook, Win Media SKN, or any of the other digital platforms. We appreciate you. If you listen to us on the radio at 98.9, big up yourself one time.
Yes.
All I who been clipping all the.
We've been seeing your face all over.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, keep doing it. I mean, we appreciate
we love it.
We appreciate the love.
Of course.
That's really what it is.
And Fridays on Win FM is very, very, very busy.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned, coming up next, we have Sandra with Your View. And right after that, we have Voices with Sandra and Devon. That should be very interesting.
So Sandra, he just here all day.
Sandra Waller, does all day. You're lucky she wasn't here this morning. And then, of course, in the afternoon, we have nothing but music for you guys. We have DJ Jed Sounds, we have DJ Flames, and, of course, DJ Wabuka. So stick and stay.
That's the detox time?
Yeah, man. Detox from all this mayhem this week.
Indeed. But guys,
Sandra look like she's tired of that.
But guys, we appreciate you so much for taking the time out to come hang out with us. And it's the weekend, guys. Please be safe. please look out for your fellow man. Be respectful. We know all the talks gonna be happening in the bar shops, in the barber shops, in the salons, and all them places there. Please, everybody, remember, at the end of the day, we are all Kititians. Country above self, if possible, please. So, guys, remember, guys, please, spend more time living your content than posting it. Facebook getting crazy.
Yes.
Please spend more time living your content than posting it. And remember, you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you is not